Hello everyone, this is Jotto and welcome to Versus Series, where a member of my team, Acebreakers, faces off against a well-known or up-and-coming pro player. This week we have Dapperatchik from Acebreakers, who will be playing as Timbolt from Luckydraw. Haven't had one of the Luckydraw guys on for a while. They're great players, always good to get one of them on the series. Now, before we start, I have a couple things that I need to talk about. The first one is, for anyone who normally floats around my channel, I do some SoulForge content weekly, and I am currently in the midst of setting up a tournament that I'll be running 2 weeks from now, which will be budget format. And if you do the dailies every day, I think you can get enough cards to play in it in about a week. So if you're interested in trying out that game and just want to sort of try it out without actually investing money into it or anything like that, then that would be your opportunity. I will put the link to the website it will be hosted on, the list of tournaments, and the finalized times. I will let you guys know when that's actually happening. However, it will most likely be a week on Friday, so the 11th, not the 11th, the 10th of October. Anyway, so besides that, this week on Versus Series we had a bit of a technical problem, also known as FLVs. Now the reason for this is because both of the people playing were on max. Now, most of you will not know what I'm talking about, apart from the few of you that have actually tried to do video editing with FLVs before. But let's just say it's impossible to synchronize them because they chop off at 8-second periods, so it's actually not possible for me to synchronize the footage this week. I tried. The only way I could do it is if I change the file type, but then the resolution and the quality would drop drastically. So I can't really do that for both views. If it's just one of them that is FLV, I can use that for the hand, and I did that last week where John P, I think, had FLV file. I dropped the quality, had it as his hand, so it didn't look too good, but you could still see it in sync. But this week, both of them are FLVs, so there's not much I can do about it. If any of you guys know an easier way around that problem with Max, let me know, because they can't output an MP4s with the Open Broadcaster at least. So if any of you guys know how to get around that in a fairly simple way, or even if it's a complicated one, I'm prepared to look into it. Just let me know, because it is a big nuisance and it pops up every single time a Mac is involved in one of these recordings. But anyway, without further ado, let's get started, shall we? So, the two decks, and I do believe I have the wrong deck up. Wow, good start. Good start. I have the wrong decks up completely. Really failing on this one. Yeah, I've just got home like an hour ago, so I'm a bit go. But anyway, so the first two decks that they will be starting off with, we have from Dapper. We do in fact have a Warlock deck called Versus Series, which is quite amusing to me. This is a handlock deck playing Draxus. Now Draxus has come back very recently simply because Hunters are leaving, Leroy is leaving, and what is everyone else playing? Control decks. So Draxus beats control decks on his own. You beat Priests almost instantly if you get Draxus down. They can't like immediately kill you with board positions. They don't have burst. They don't have burst, you just keep making 6/6s and you win. As for the rest of this, there's the 1 VGH because handlocks and freeze giants are coming back. 1 faceless for similar reasons. Double Sludge Belcher, very important right now because you just want to be able to build a really greedy deck with a way around aggro decks, and that's what Sludge Belcher does. Besides that, we've got a couple key cards like Sylvanas, arguably the best card in the game at the moment because of the metagame, is so control heavy. Then we've also got Black Knight, which is back. We haven't seen Black Knight in a long time, but there's a lot more taunts now, so Black Knight actually does get value against things like Sludge Belcher. I'm expecting to see Sludge Belcher in a lot of decks today. So anyway, Timbolt has brought a Warrior Control list. Now this Warrior Control list is playing, again, the 1-up BGH. It's playing a Ironbeak Owl, which is an interesting addition. We've got 1 Faceless, 1 Sludge Belcher to help a bit with the aggro decks. As I said, a lot of Sludge Belchers are going to be seen today. Besides that, for the Legendary Suite, in this particular control deck, we have Harrison, Loatheb, Cairn, and Sylvanas for the mid-game, Black Knight for hard removal, and not that many win conditions. We have Grommash and Geddon. Now, Geddon is more of a board clear. Grommash, I think, is been putting this just on its own, and the reason for that is probably priests. You can't really stick a Rag or a Kel'Thuzad against a priest, because if they mind control your Kel'Thuzad when you don't have an execute in your hand, the game is over. So you actually have to just play win conditions that do something immediately and are bad mind control targets. Like, I mean, Grommash is a good mind control target. The problem is that you never really mind control him. He usually just hits you in the face. And if he had to be played as removal, then you're winning anyway. So this deck plays around priests a lot, which is understandable because priests are fairly popular right now. So anyway, on to the mulligans, and as I said, the videos are completely off for this week. It doesn't show up as much in the mulligans, but the actual game is where it gets a bit weird. So as for mulligans, playing against warrior, I would say you send back, well for the warrior, I think you do send back the execute and the belcher here. The belcher is too slow, execute doesn't do much. Because you need an enabler for handlock. You could consider keeping execute though and mulliganing the axe. I think the main thing here is, are you gonna think handlock zoo, handlock zoo, handlock zoo? You keep execute if you think it's handlock. However, against zoo it's useless, but then you're keeping axe against zoo. So I think actually keeping the execute was fine there. Oh, you got another one back anyway, so it doesn't matter. And Dapper sending his entire hand back because none of that really does much in the here and now. So, moving on to the game. Eventually. I wasn't joking when I said it was impossible to edit this. I did what I could. I did what I could. But anyway, so as far as opening hands goes, I would say Timbolt's is kind of interesting. If this was Zoo, it would be good, but it's not Zoo. So he has a very, very slow hand, and it allows Dapper just to stockpile cards. If you notice, he used the coin there because he has a giant in his hand and he wants to tap to give himself extra options instead. Getting one card deeper is more important than the coin in this particular matchup. Not in a lot of matchups, but in this particular one it is. It's a very, very interesting way of looking at it. Not to mention if you, I mean, he's going to have a turn where he doesn't tap. That's always the awkward thing going second, but he does have the Ancient Watcher, so you can just play that out and naturally do it without telegraphing that he has Giant. Because I mean, you can still play the Giant, you can still play a Twilight Drake without discarding by doing it this way. Alright, so there's the 4-cost Giant. This is probably going to get executed. The problem is he has to take a bunch of damage for this. He does have the Sylvanas, both players have the Sylvanas, and Timbolt will get his down first, which is not always a good thing, because it means it doesn't trigger when you want it to. Yeah, he's going to have to take the 2 damage here, and then armor up again. Which, I mean, he could play, no, you just have to armor up. I'm going to be going largely off Timbolt's point of view for this series because it is so out of sync. I'll refer to Dapper's hand every so often, but he's very, very far ahead. So I didn't quite see what that was. I'm guessing it was Lotheb? Yeah, it was. Alright, so Lotheb is going to do a lot of work here, simply because there is no Death Spy on the board. If there's a Death Spy on the board, it doesn't do much, but if there isn't, it just is really, really good, because you can't really kill it. Swinging at it, that's an interesting play. I can see why he would do that. It means that if he doesn't trade, he can Baron Geddon and clear it. So, I think that was a decent play. Oh. We have a Sylvanas. Now, I would actually, I think I'd actually attack the Ancient Watcher and play Baron Geddon here. Because it means that the best he can do is steal the Bane, but you clear his board. You could also play Sylvanas, but that's incredibly risky. Because what happens if he just steals your Sylvanas? That's like backbreaking. So I think I'd actually attack the 4-5 with your Cairn and then play Baron Geddon. That's what I would do. This is a tricky turn though, but I think I'd go for the large clear here. If he's thinking about it. I think playing Sylvanas is a mistake. Because if he... the reason this is a mistake is because his opponent could have Mortal Coil or Shadow Flame. Actually, Shadow Flame doesn't do much here. Shadow Flame does nothing, but Mortal Coil is the main one. He could also... actually, his goes off first, so he could trade. Like, worst case scenario, he's 50-50ing for a switch on both minions, so he ends up with a Cairn instead of the 4-5 that does nothing. Yeah, we're going to see the Mortal Coil here, and that is absolutely brutal. He gets to draw a card, and he steals the Sylvanas. This is why he should not have played the Sylvanas. That's backbreaking. Sylvanas is really, really hard to deal with for a warrior, or just in general right now. It's a very, very good card. Interesting, going for the Twilight Drake. I think I can see why you'd go for the Twilight Drake. There's no point in putting a giant down and playing into Brawl. Twilight Drake puts on enough pressure for now. You've got him down to 20, so there's no reason to do anything drastic. Yeah, I could definitely see that play. A lot of people would go for the giant there. There's even some debate for just going Sludge Belcher, but that only defends against Arcanite Reaper. Anyway, back to Timbolt's hand here. At this point, I don't know if he has that many options apart from brawling and hoping for the best. He does have a lot of really powerful cards in his hand, so he could just go for the Brawl and hope that he clears the 2 threats and leaves the Ancient Watcher on the board. He can't play Rag. Ragnaros has no good targets right now. It can hit the 4-5 and do nothing. It can hit the Twilight Drake and not kill it, or it can hit the Sylvanas and not kill it. And, well, kill it and then he loses his Rag, which is the end of the game. No, Sylvanas lives. That's miserable. That was a Faceless, I think, that came down there. Giant Faceless. And that's the end of the game, I think. I don't know if there's a single card he can draw here. Second Brawl. No, he doesn't have it. Slam, Execute. That's it, I think. Black Knight. Yeah, that's the end of the game. That game was, I think, possibly... I mean, I don't think the mistake decided it, because I think it would have gone that way anyway. Because it was only a very, very small thing. But that game was actually more of a case of just how difficult it is for warriors to deal with 5-5s if they don't have an active Death Bite out. And what do I mean by that? I mean, Loatheb did work, Sylvanas did work, and then the Sylvanas that was stolen also did work. Warrior has a very, very hard time dealing with 5-5s. 5-5s hit really hard, but they don't die to a single attack of Death Bite. You need a Whirlwind, or you need a already attacked Death Bite, so it actually dies and does the Whirlwind for you. So it's pretty hard to deal with 5-5s, and once the 2 giants came down, it was just beyond over. Anyway, so Timbolt has brought in a Rush Warlock deck. This is not a Zoo deck. This is a go to the face with everything as fast as possible deck. Now, just running over this quickly, this is very, very reminiscent of Backspace Rogue. We've got the standard Zoo core of like Abusives, Void Walkers, Flame Imps, things like that. However, we've got double Power Overwhelming, double Leper Gnome, double Worgen, Bluegill, Fairy Dragons, Ironbeak Owls to get past taunts, Arcane Golems, Death Lords are interesting. It's one of those things where it's like they hit really hard and they protect all of your stuff. The problem is when it dies, it has a rather major drawback, so I'm not sure how that's going to turn out, but I can see it being very good in this deck. 8 health protects all of your other creatures and lets them get in a couple more times. We have a 5 mana Leroy saying hi, and I think it's really good in this deck. And the 1 overarching commander. No Doom Guards. Interesting. I think the reason for no Doom Guards is because you're stockpiling damage a lot. You're stockpiling Ironbeak Owls, Power Overwhelming, Soulfires. So you can't really afford to play Doom Guard because then you discard like 8 damage. You get in for 5, but you discard 8 damage a lot of the time. So that's why Doom Guard isn't in this list in my opinion. But I can definitely see this list being able to just flat kill the Handlock deck before it gets rolling. You can use Ironbeak Owls and even Power Overwhelmings to get through things. So I would definitely put this in the favor of the Rush Warlock here. So moving into game 2. And I think they're a little better synced up this time. A little. It has just occurred to me, I went past mulligans. I'll just quickly go into mulligans again. Sorry about that. As I said, a bit of a busy day today. As far as mulligans goes, the abusive is a debatable keep here. I'm not sure though, because you can abusive tap on 3. So it's debatable whether or not you keep that. I think you send it back, because it's not much you're going to be using it for until turn 4 or so. As far as Dapper is concerned, I think you send back Black Knight and Shadow Flame. Keep the Earthen Ring and the Mountain Giant. That's the way I'd do it. Anyway, going on to game 2 again. So what we ended up with is he kept the abusive and Dapper sent back just the singular card. So he does have that Shadow Flame, which I think he kept because he thinks this is Handlock, and he's going to regret that decision as soon as you saw that flame out. Alright, so this is a pretty good curve. He does have a very, very fast curve right now, as these taps are going to start hurting. Oh wow, triple 1-drop. That's insane. That is so fast. If there isn't, basically Hellfire is miserable here, but he can get in for a ton of damage right now. I think at this point you're just like, if he has, like, yeah, that's why he tapped instead of playing a bunch of creatures. Because like, he went second. If he has Hellfire, then I may just lose. So he's just going for the solid extra damage. Now he has to play out Earthen Ring, and I think this game is going to be over very quickly. There are no taunt enablers in his hand right now. So he's going to play the Ancient Watcher and hope for the best at this point. This does soak up a lot of Knife Juggler triggers. Interesting using the abusive. Yeah, he's not going for the abusive. I think I agree with not using abusives here. You can use them as surprise damage with Arcane Golems. There's not really a reason to go for it. I think he should have definitely tapped first. Okay, he's just going for the full board. Alright, that's understandable. 3 triggers to the face. Wow. Full board, and yeah, he's the last Knife Juggler trigger punished him for that. That's hilarious. He missed 1 damage there because of the Knife Juggler RNG. Now the reason he killed that is because of Shadow Flame. Would have completely wrecked his board. So we're going to see a Mountain Giant come down and a Shadow Flame. But he's going down to 6 life. Doesn't take much. There's a lot of lethal draws here. Yeah, and there's the lethal. There was a lot of lethal draws there though. Arcane Golem in hand. There were 2 Soulfires, Leroy, 2 Power Overwhelming. There was a lot of lethal draws there, so not surprised that he ended up top decking lethal there. Anyway, so as predicted, the Warlock Rush deck ended up taking that game on turn 5. So that was pretty insane, I must admit. Turn 5 win for that Warlock deck. Very, very well played from Timbolt's perspective, actually. Being able to kill that, take him down to 6. I mean, he could have taken him down to 1, technically. But then there could have been, like, taunt. It's just not, like, it's not worth doing, because if you Shadow Flame... Actually, if you Shadow Flame, he would have been on 1 life. He would have been on 1 life as opposed to 4, when he wouldn't have a top deck. But I guess you could also say, like, Ancient Watcher, Sun Fury? Does that even do it? With, like, a Mortal Coil? I'm unsure about that. I think killing the Ancient Watcher was the safest play, though. Anyway, so Dapper has brought in his Paladin list. Now, there's an extra card at the bottom here, by the way. There's a Ysera at the end of that list. Paladin lists with a lot of 1-obs are very long. So there is a Ysera at the end there, it went off the bottom of the deck creator. But anyway, so this list in particular is playing 1 Holy Light. It's got the 1 Spellbreaker to help a lot with those Zoo decks and also Tyrians and things like that. And I don't mean Rush, I mean actual Zoo that runs like eggs and things like that. 1 Guardian of Kings, 1 Lay on Hands, 1 Holy Light. So a little stingy on the healing. 2 Guardian I think is really, really good for the healing, but I'm not sure if you can get away with that at the moment. The main cards to look at here are going to be Sludge Belcher, Stampeding Kodo, and Consecrate. Those are going to be the major ones, and Wild Pyro. Wild Pyro quality could definitely steal a game. So with that, we will go on to the mulligans. Alright, so Timbolt has an interesting one here. I think you actually sent back 1 Leper Gnome because he could have Wild Pyro, it just clears them. So I think you sent back a Leper Gnome. I would keep... You want to have 2 1-drops to play on turn 1. And I think you send back... You keep the Abusive just in case, because you can play that on turn 3 with a tap and clear something. So I think you keep the Abusive, and I think you send back a Leper Gnome. Now, as for Dapper... I could see sending everything back here. I think keeping the Equality is fine. Maybe keeping the Humility was also good there. Consecrate is a good card, though. I think I could see keeping Humility because it does shut down a Flame Imp to only 1 attack, which could save you 6 or so damage. But, I don't know, maybe it's better to try and mulligan aggressively. Oh, wow, he got Tyrion back. That's terrible. So, Dapper has a pretty bad hand right now, whereas his opponent has a pretty good hand. Very aggressive start, that's for sure. As we're going to see the Tokens of Demise come down here. Tokens are really annoying for Warlock aggro decks in general. It's going to start trading with this stuff. Oh, we have a Knife Juggler, and he's gonna attack the 1/1 with this 3/2, I should imagine. We got a Knife Juggler coming down here, and then he's probably just going to go straight for the attack on the 1/1. You can't really rush your Paladin down. They're a bit more resilient, so to say. Now, the problem he's facing right now is that Consecrate is a thing, so I would actually just go face with everything, don't miss any more damage. Oh, never mind, the trigger is decided. Yeah, Consecrate is going to stabilize in a major way here. He's just going to Consecrate, and then he's got Loatheb and Sunwalker. If he gets... Oh wow, I was about to say if he gets Sludge Belcher, that'd be really good. He got the next best thing, Kodo. He did get down to 15 though in the first push, which can be enough. Oh, wow, almost no plays there. As we're going to see a Kodo come down, I think. He doesn't know about the Death Lords. If he did, then this Kodo would be the most value Kodo ever. Because you just Kodo the Death Lord. Alright, so he's definitely going to play out this Death Lord now that he's seen this Kodo. Top deck Kodo. Go on, another one. Nope, no top deck Kodos. And the Holy Light. Holy Light is a really important card here. He needs the healing. Oh, we have an Iron Beak out for this 4-5, and a Wolf Rider, I should imagine. He's still taking a lot of damage. His opponent does have lethal next turn. He needs to Holy Light this turn. This is super awkward. I would actually almost dare to equality right now. He needs to Holy Light this turn. He can Holy Light and Loatheb so that he can't be killed by Soulfire or Power Overwhelming shenanigans. What do you get? Oh, Guardian of Kings doesn't heal. That's so miserable. So he's going to play the Loatheb and he's going to heal himself up. I'm not really sure where this game is going to go at this point. How much damage is that? 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Not quite enough. Although I think you just go straight forward at this point. If he goes straight for it, and his opponent can't clear his board, I think he just wins. But there is a full clear available. Just a little awkward. So he needs to play the Fairy Dragon as well. He should not trade here, he should just go full face with everything and play the Fairy Dragon. So there is still no full clear available here. However, he can clear enough damage off the board to not be dead to Soulfire, which is what he should do. He should play Tyrion and then clear the board. Of everything. Of everything of note. And should definitely use the 3-1 to kill the 4-2. And then you just keep everything at a decent level. You want to play around Hellfire, so you want to use the 5-6 on the 2-1. If he goes face, he loses. He should definitely clear, no matter what. There's enough damage on the board to kill the Tyrion. He's just trying to think about how he does this. Yeah, it's understandable. Slight misplay around Hellfire, but oh well. Oh, no. No! Why? You're just straight dead to Soulfire. That was a huge mistake on the last turn there. That was a really big mistake to close out the series. I actually think Dapper could have won that game. That was a pretty bad way of ending the series, I must admit. I think Dapper could have won that last game. His opponent would have had to get some sort of lethal in the next 2 turns because of this extreme amount of damage coming down, provided no taunts were pulled, or the Guardian that was still in his deck, or Lay on Hands. So I think they were fighting for a similar number of outs, especially considering Power Overwhelming couldn't be drawn because there wasn't any creatures on the board. So they were both pulling to similar amounts of outs. I think Dapper had a few more actually, because he had both Sludge Belchers as well to stop most of it. So yeah, I think Dapper could have won that game. He definitely had a good chance to win that game, but not clearing that 2-1 left him dead to Soulfire, which was definitely a big mistake. Anyway. So besides that, the rest of the series, the first game was a bit of a case of what happens when Warriors get overrun by 5/5s, which is one of the ways you can beat Warriors just with straight 5/5 legendaries. Like the 5/5 legendaries with relevant effects are very, very hard for Warriors to deal with. They deal a lot of damage, they put a lot of pressure on your opponent, and their effects disrupt them a lot. In the case of Sylvanas and Loatheb, big disruption effects, big sweeping disruption effects, and they're very, very good against that particular deck. Now, the second game was a case of what happens to a hand lock when a Rush Warlock draws on curve, which is almost impossible not to, considering how the curve looks in that deck. So it draws on curve and smashes them in the face. That's just what happens to hand lock when they don't get Molten Giants and a Taunt Enabler in their opening hand or first extra 3 or 4 cards from top of the deck. They really need that to stabilize. Now, as for the third game, I think it was very close. Dapper made a slight mistake at the end there, which cost him the game to exact lethal. And Timbolt also made the mistake of not going full face, because it's the kind of thing where it's like, he played around the healing, but if his opponent had healing, he was going to lose anyway. So why not just go full face and set up almost lethal straight there. So I do think it was a mistake not going face there, didn't really accomplish much in the first place. So yeah, there were a couple of mistakes in the last game, but besides that, it was actually a pretty good series. It's interesting to see what metagame shapes out to be, considering that the format's been slowed down so much, although Rush Warlock seems to be a very good deck right now, simply because a lot of control decks are relying on Sludge Belchers. So if they don't get the Sludge Belchers, then they just die into aggro decks. So that's an exploitable part of the metagame right now, definitely want to look into. But anyway, thank you all for watching. If you like the content, please subscribe. If you have any feedback, especially about the whole Mac thing, I really want to know about that. Put it in the comment section below. But as for now, this has been Jotto, signing off.